Dools.
Has.
We're still in lockdown, which means that we've got a lot of time to go through our backlog. So today, we are tackling one of my absolute guilt trips, a film I've never seen, the acclaimed masterpiece from the Japanese studio Ghibli, Spirited Away. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the More Cops on Duty podcast. I'm one of your acclaimed hosts, Harry. With me, of course, is the Jake to my Elwood, Edward Dools. Dools, how you doing today?
Harry, in news that no one wanted to hear, the NRL is coming back before the AFL, May 28. If there was going to be a silver lining to this pandemic, it's that the NRL was going to go bankrupt. I'm just putting it out there. I mean, I remember seeing a story that the fucking Parramatta Eels were going to apply for JobKeeper. It's like, all right, guys, let's hang it up.
What's JobKeeper?
Let's just call it a day.
Is that when the government gives you stimulus?
Yeah, the employment.
That's package. Classic.
But So, I mean, anyway, but that's interesting. I wonder how they're going to make money. I mean, obviously, they can, the networks will still pay them to air the games. But, I mean, you got to imagine bulk of revenue is ticket sales. I mean, you got to imagine, right?
Well, ticket sales, membership sales, surely. But there's got to be an argument. Yeah. There's got to be an argument of, to what degree do they refund that without
I think, and this is not relevant at all, but, whatever, let's roll with it for a sec. I could be way off base here, but I think I recall seeing, apparently there was, an uptick in memberships for some AFL clubs. I think Eddie Maguire said something on the lines of, it's heartwarming to see, it's amazing to see more people supporting a club with memberships. It's I found that, I don't know, or maybe it was that there wasn't a precipitous drop, but anyway, because I can't imagine memberships would go up at a time like this. But but then, in contrast, you've got the NRL, who are just seeing steep declines, and then it's just immediately they're in panic mode. They're dipping into their reserves, and it's just you got to wonder how, because the NRL at its core is a business, and you got to wonder, the AFL isn't in dire straits like this. They're not on the news every day about how are we going to pay the players? How are we going to fucking? Well,
the players all took a massive pay cut.
Yeah, they did, and the same with NRL. But
it's true.
And I think the AFL CEO took a huge 70-80%, something like that. But so clearly, whoever is the NRL CEO, their board members, whatever, they just don't know how to run a business. We're seeing that with a lot of businesses. There's just regardless of whether you are pandemic proof or not, you just don't even have any kind of cash reserves to dip into if shit goes south. It's you just don't know how to run a business. It's plain and simple.
Yeah.
You're running on the thinnest margins imaginable, it seems. So, anyway, Studio Ghibli.
Speaking of supernatural times, Dools.
What?
Okay. We both watched Spirited Away.
Yep.
Because as we said, this is another episode of the More Cops on Duty podcast, not the NRL or AFL podcast. We're a fun-filled, movie-based podcast. We like to delve into TV and games, but predominantly movies, wouldn't you say, Dawes?
Predominantly has.
But, so we record 2 a week. On Wednesdays, we got the normal show, full of banter and good old Dools quirps. But Friday is the business end of the week. And that's when we drop our review podcast, whether it be a season of a television show that just came out, a film that just came out or was in our backlog like it would be today, or maybe someday in the next week or two we do a game. In the next month or two, we do a game. We watch it, we play it, and come here and just delve right in. This week was a suggestion by you, Dools. Should you introduce it a bit?
Sure, I sure can. You already said it. It is Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away. Now, Spirited Away came out in, I think,
2001.
2001. Yes, 2001. Now, they had done a ton of films before that, but this is arguably their most well known and just their most revered. And it's from Mastermind at the studio, who I think is now retired, although he may have actually recently come out of retirement. I'll have to double check that. But so it's from the Mastermind Hayao. I could be mispronouncing Hayao Miyazaki, but so he is behind other films like My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke. Again, I could be butchering these pronunciations. Amongst a huge slew of other titles. And the thing about Studio Ghibli is that it's just like, not only is the animation just this hand-drawn animation,
it's timeless. It's timeless, the animation.
Just unmatched in its aesthetic. It's also that, like, at its at the core of all these films, these are very wholesome and sometimes sad, depressing, but ultimately uplifting stories, and pretty smart, pretty this is there's a few top level, kind of like surface level themes that you can explore with these films, but more often than not, there's a lot of stuff that you can unpack through its imagery and symbolism and all that stuff. So but yeah, this is a pretty rich film in terms of thematic and imagery, things like that. So which I'm sure we'll get into, but yeah, right off the bat, as you mentioned, this is your you popped your Studio Ghibli cherry. Has doesn't like that phrase.
It's just so cringeworthy, that phrase. It's like moist.
What did you think? What did you think of Spirited Away? Did you like it?
So I went into this film. I didn't know anything about it. I know about Studio Ghibli. This is my first Studio Ghibli film. Oh no, it's not. It's my second. I did Grave of the Fireflies. Back with.
Oh,
thought that was exceptional. That was heart-wrenching to say the absolute least. Grave of the Fireflies.
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm currently binging a few of them, so I'm sure I'll get.
Oh man, that will show you your heart. Like, it's fucked.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a gorgeous story that at the same time is like, it's so heart-wrenching, but like, damn, it's just so well told. And this was the same, I felt. As you said, the animation style, I think the perfect word to describe it as is timeless. Like, this is almost 20 years old, and it could have been done this year.
Yes.
Like, it's the same, like, it's only 2 years older than Toy Story, I think. It was Toy Story 99, or it might be a bit earlier than that. But Toy Story 1 now is super aged.
Yeah, 99 or 98, so yeah, late 90s Toy Story.
Yeah, it's super aged if you watch it now compared to what Toy Story is.
You're spot on, because I remember it was on TV when around the time Toy Story 4 came out, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll chuck it on. Oh my god, like it looked like
aged.
It looked like a PS2 game.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no,
but the animation style here, I think the perfect word to say is that it's timeless. Because of course, you can say it's stunning, it's gorgeous, but like, I don't think that does it justice.
I mean, that's the thing with computer animation. You can say the same about video games. You go look at Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 games; those games look atrocious. But you look at like Super Nintendo games where it's pixel art, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, like a Castlevania game. Yeah, absolutely agree. On the outset, that's what really drawed me in, and I was watching it with my roommate, and there's a lot of things that at first you're like, I don't understand anything that's happening right now, but we couldn't stop watching it. We're like, this is fascinating. I loved the story. I thought the story was beautifully told. Absolute symbolism towards Japanese myth culture and supernatural culture. I actually went to the New South Wales Gallery last month I saw their Japanese supernatural exhibit, and I saw a lot of callbacks between this and that, and especially like I can't remember. I'm not going to be able to remember names because they're all Japanese, and but the head of the bathhouse, the woman with the giant head. Yugi
Baba or something.
Yeah,
Yubaba. Or just
she's
Yubaba.
yeah, she's like a representation of a folk tale of a witch that like that lured people towards him and eats their souls basically, and that's exactly what she kind of was
Well,
doing.
just on that point very quickly. I mean, they're quite literal in the naming of these characters. So Yubaba is uh translates to in Japanese to sorry, let me see. I just got it up here. I think bathhouse old woman, and you've got Kamaji, the guy who works in the boiler room, old boiler man, and then the baby boy, Bo, means boy. So I mean, I think it's literal in its interpretation and portrayal of these characters, like even through their names, like, and they also fulfill their role quite literally. So she is a witch. She's called a witch. So yeah.
Absolutely, and there's definitely signs of Western capitalism and stuff like that, especially with how the parents were eating all the food and then they literally turned into pigs, which is definitely a symbol of greed, gluttony, and capitalism. But the story of what's the main girl? I know her name changes to Sen, but what's her
Chihiro.
Chihiro. Thank you, Dawes. I think she's a perfect character. That she's so innocent at first, but she's so accepting of the world around her. I found, and throughout the story, she really just was the main driver. Which, of course, that's a stupid thing to say because she's the main character, but you could see that like she was the main driver of this whole change.
So just you mentioned greed and capitalism, and yeah, that's like, it's a very on the nose kind of interpretation of, like, how her parents turned to pigs as they see all this seemingly free food and kind of just go to town. So apparently someone tweeted at Studio Ghibli's Twitter account a couple of years back, and they just asked point blank, like, yeah, so what is the relevance of Chihiro's parents turning into pigs? And the studio responded simply that the transformation was reflective of how people turned into pigs during Japan's bubble economy of the 80s, and then which was followed by the crash in 91. So once someone becomes a pig, they gradually have the body and soul of a pig. So I think, which is a fascinating. So I mean, yeah, while it's not exclusive to, I think, Western culture, but I think so I think obviously there was I think just everyone that was typical across the world, though, how I think during the 80s people kind of got swept up in capitalism and gadgets.
Yeah, you're right.
So but that's fascinating.
But yeah, so what did you think of the movie, though, Dawes?
Yeah, I loved it. So this is the second time I'm watching, although it almost felt like the first time. I record bits and pieces as I was watching again, but because I think I saw it for the first time when it came out, and so I didn't really recall the plot too well, but I would recall, like, No Face is an iconic looking character now because he also appears in a lot of memes and things like that. But so the imagery, I was like, okay, instantly remembered, like, locations and characters and things like that. But I mean, plot wise, I was a bit lost. So I pretty much felt like I was experiencing it for the first time again. So yeah, no, I mean, I echo everything you said. Like, yeah, I just love the deep meaning behind a lot of the things. The animation is just sublime. It's a very thoughtful film, and how I think now I don't think this is confirmed or anything, or definitely don't think it is, but I think it's heavily implied that you think about it, this little girl taken from her parents, working for a mean old lady, a mean uncompromising old lady, puts her to work in a bathhouse for little to no pay. I mean, you kind of can put one and two together there, how that might be interpreted as like prostitution or whatever. And so if you look at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, that's pretty dark. And it's just like, and then there's a point in the film where this big, disgusting slob of a creature, the stink spirit they call him, comes through the doors, and they, just like, oh, we'll just get Sen to deal with him. It's like, Jesus. But then there's like silver linings to moments like that, because she discovers, well, no, this misunderstood creature is actually a river spirit or whatever that's just been, encased in this junk. And so I think, like,
which again is a sign of
there's
pollution.
Always like a counterpoint to every moment that seems like it's going to a dark place. It kind of brings it back. And same with No Face's arc, where he appears to be nice at first, then becomes this malevolent being who starts gobbling people up and becomes too greedy, and just only wants Sen's attention. And when she rejects him, he kind of goes berserk and everything, and then he kind of comes back around towards the end. So I think, like, and you kind of see that with a lot of the evil characters, and I think, like, Sen clearly has a big impact on everyone throughout the film that she meets and interacts with. And I mean, yeah, it's just but I mean, you also got to imagine there's just so much we're missing, just simply by the fact that we don't speak Japanese and we're not entrenched in that culture. So I mean, it's just always going to be part and parcel with those kind of movies, that there's always going to be stuff we're going to miss and not pick up on, which could make watching it even richer. But did you watch with the English dubs, by the way, or?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, same. I think I'm probably going to do that for all of them, because I typically will go for a foreign film with the subtitles. But the Studio Ghibli films, they have significant financial backing, and so the dubs are always pretty good. And it's not like, because I think just a quick sidebar. We were talking about that movie Platform, that new Netflix movie. I watched like the first 2 minutes with the English dub, and I was like, this is unwatchable. So
really,
yeah. I mean, it was set like that automatically, but because it was like they were just like catching up on the lines, and like it was just like, it was way too obvious. But I think that's the problem with live action as well. So yeah, no, I think because actually in the movie My Neighbor Totoro, which I think might be, I don't know if it's Studio Ghibli's first. It's Hayao Miyazaki's first one though, the first one he made. The Fanning twins voiced the two little girls in it. So Dakota and Elle Fanning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And it was like really well done English dubs in that one, and that's like their first movie, Studio Ghibli. So
wow,
yeah,
what a film! What a film to start on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know if that was done after the fact, like maybe a few years later. I don't know. You can't imagine that would have immediately went to Western markets, that movie. But I mean, maybe it did. Who knows? It'd be interesting. I think actually, yeah, because they definitely would have had to do it maybe mid-90s at the earliest, because Dakota, Elle Fanning, they're like our age, so
yeah,
or maybe late 90s. So yeah, they probably would have had to do that a decade later almost. So I think Studio Ghibli didn't really start to pick up steam as a internationally renowned company until maybe I think this definitely put them on the map big time as well. I think even though they already were on a lot of people's radars, but this is what made them mainstream, Spirited Away. So,
wow.
So yeah, I think so. Any characters beyond Chihiro, the main character, that stood out to you? Any favorites?
I was a big fan of the Boiler Man.
Same.
Oh, he was just a lot of fun. Do you reckon? Do you know who he reminded me of though? As soon as I saw him, just the look of him.
Dr. Eggman.
Yes, yeah, 110% Dr. Robotnik. Straight up, like, looked identical to him, except for the 6 hands. But I just loved how he just functioned. And he's just like, I'm just here to just put coal into a machine. That's my entire life.
Yeah, I was always because the only other human, because they people would gasp in shock and horror when they saw Sen for the first time. It's like, a human? What's a human doing here? And they were always able to smell her out. But oh god, her name's escaping me. But the woman who takes Sen under her wing, I mean,
I'll look it up.
well, got to imagine it's human, and so, but they never really address, how she got there, or if she actually is human. I mean, I guess not, because there is another character who, walks around in human form, but then can also turn into a dragon.
Lynn.
So, okay, and so maybe she was some other kind of spirit as well. Who knows? But yeah, I always thought I wish they could have delved deeper into like the whole relationship between the spirit world and humans, and maybe the mistrust there or something. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a fascinating kind of world there to explore, story there to explore. But and there's always been rumors that they'd do a sequel to this, or maybe another film set in the same world. But I think they always make a point to never do sequels, which is which I really respect. Like, and this would be the easiest one to do it to as well, in the sense that like the financial imperative is most definitely there. Like Spirited Away 2, that would just be a box office hit.
Too Spirited, Two Away.
Yeah, good one, Ez. Go on.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. Well, I think are you? Because I mean, I think almost all Studio Ghibli films are now on Netflix. Like they've trickled them out over the month of March, and I think the last couple have appeared on there now. And so I've already watched Spirited Away. Was the second one I watched. The first one was My Neighbor Totoro, which is
that
awesome.
good?
Yeah, it's really good. I think I honestly think like you can't go wrong with them. It seems like they don't really miss a beat. Like yeah, I can't wait to watch more of them. Is there any like subject matter in the film that we're missing that we should touch on?
No, I feel like it's a sort of a film. It's more of an experience than a storyline. I feel like exactly what you said, that it's very much symbolizing different things, and it could very much easily be symbolized towards the underground sex trafficking of Japan, but it's very much more of an experience than it is a storyline. I feel just getting engrossed into that world. All the different demons are spirits are amazing. I especially love the big radish spirit. This giant radish.
Yeah.
He was awesome. But no, I loved it all. I thought it was so fascinating and so lively. It's definitely got me interested. I'll definitely be watching more Studio Ghibli. It's just such a feel-good film, at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can, it definitely, I mean, it was the same with My Neighbor Totoro, and, I can imagine, I'm hoping some of them are going to kind of draw me in, subvert my expectations, and just, like, just be extremely depressing all the way throughout. I mean, I'm sure.
Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, yeah.
Grave of the Fireflies.
There you go. That's awesome. I can't wait for that. Wait for that then. Cause,
it's gonna kill you. It's
like,
good. It's bad.
It's never particularly dour or kind of hopeless. Like Chihiro, like she always seems pretty upbeat. Like she has moments of weakness, but I mean she's always pretty resolute and determined to save her parents. And there's never really a moment where she just feels like all hope is lost or whatever. And so yeah, I mean in that sense, it's more of like it's just like a whimsical adventure. It's like. Yeah, because I think plus I think I was reading up about it. I think Miyazaki, he often bases. Again, I'm basing this off the two films I've watched, but he I think he will typically base parts of the story or maybe the setting around things from his own life. So I think he apparently wanted to. The idea to make it follow a 10-year-old girl came from the fact that a friend. One of his very good friends' 10-year-old daughters would often, I think, spend the summer at Miyazaki's place. And so I think like he wanted to like dedicate it to her or something. And same with My Neighbor Totoro. I mean, you can look it up, but I mean the house that they live in the movie in this Japanese countryside looks almost identical to Miyazaki's childhood home, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean things like that. So like it's interesting how he's drawing from his real life experiences, but at the same time, I don't think he can relate too much to being a 10-year-old girl has.
Yep, true. True, Dawes. We can only dream.
Has how many no faces out of 10 would you give this film?
Ooh. Mate. It'd be up there. It'd be like a 8.5 or a 9 no faces out of 10. In terms of animation, I think it's an 11. Like, I think it's no, like,
Yep.
bother putting a score next to it, of course.
Yep.
Story was great. Characters were amazing. The English dub was actually really, really well done.
Yeah.
But there was like the best compliment I can give to it is like, of course, it's so rich and everything like that, but it makes me want to watch it again, of course. But like even parts where I'm like, I'm obviously not that educated into Japanese folklore, but I can't stop watching this. It just kept engrossing me. I was more and more fascinated about where they're going to go next or which spirit we're going to meet next, you know? And even though at times it didn't make sense because I'm a bit ignorant in that world, it still made me want to research it and watch it more.
Exactly, and I think like yeah, you said it like I want to know more about like this spirit world, and like yeah, it makes me want to research Japanese culture more. Like while I wish they would have explored the relationship with this world and humanity a bit more, it's like at the same time, well, I think a film that leaves more unsaid, but you're still dying to know, this and that, I think is a testament to just its storytelling and visual appeal. So, yeah, could not agree more. I think I'm sure we'll, watch some more Studio Ghibli and perhaps find another one to review.
Yeah, nice, Dools. On that, Dools, what do you reckon we're going to be reviewing next week?
Well, see, this is a bit of a debacle, because
bit of a debacle.
What we had planned, we actually originally planned to review Tiger King on this episode, but then I was like, well, hold your horses, hold your horses, hold your tiger cubs, keep them in that cage.
Jesus,
because a story came out. One of the colourful characters from that docuseries, Jeff Lowe, who if you haven't watched Tiger King yet, watch it. Said, I think he randomly on Twitter, he was like responding to some fan question or some shit, and then he says, out of nowhere, yeah, so they're currently filming another episode here. Wait, keep your eyes on Netflix. It'll drop sometime next week. It's like, oh shit, okay, amazing. Very random. No confirmation from Netflix as of yet. You maybe imagine they want to announce this a day out or something, or even on the day.
I reckon it's true now because I reckon it's true because if it's not true, Netflix would have been like, guys, it's not true, and I'm sorry, but there's no more Tiger King.
Probably, yeah. I think, probably. Because I mean, this is someone who's literally in a significant portion of the series, so I think if it wasn't true, then you imagine someone would have stepped in to clarify something. Plus, some other big news came out regarding Joe Exotic today. Some hilarious, outlandish news. Apparently, Donald Trump himself is looking into Joe's case and is considering pardoning him. And apparently, this because Joe, I mean, if you haven't watched the series,
of all people,
he's in prison for something, but we're not going to spoil what that is.
During a pandemic. His attention is going to go away from that and focus on Joe Exotic.
Well, Donald Trump is a man of action. He only does what the people ask of him. So with that, I feel like there could be so many developments with this fucking wacky saga that if we record next week, I'm so worried that like something else huge is going to happen right afterwards. But I mean, we should be fine. I think we'll keep our eyes peeled. If Netflix haven't announced anything by Wednesday about this episode, well, I mean, we can leave it till as late as Thursday, I guess. But
Worst comes to worst, I reckon we can review The Hunt.
yeah, sounds good. Yeah, and I think you mentioned you got Resident Evil 3, so we could even possibly make that the first of the games we review.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a very quick campaign, so I think that wouldn't be a problem for you to go through. So yeah, but we will definitely get to Tiger King, 100%. It's just a matter of gauging the situation, and yeah, I mean, look, if this episode comes out next Wednesday or Thursday even, I reckon we'll definitely just go for the Tiger King review.
Yeah.
Yep.
Until then,
All
you
right,
can catch us on all things social, Instagram, right, Dools?
That's exactly right.
Instagram, Twitter. Trying to hopefully over this long weekend get us all up on YouTube. It's just a bit of a massive process, but we'll get there. We will get there. But every Wednesday you can catch us on your favorite podcast streaming service, Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, Apple Music, etc., for the main show. And then Friday, the exact same places for the review show. But until next time, Dools, we are clocking off.